don't know. Are we happy with the way that Lance was killed off the show? I guess that if anyone was to do it, I was glad that Carol did it, but I don't know. I didn't feel satisfied with Lance's death. If anything, like I felt like there was so much more that could have been done with his character in these 8 episodes, because he ended on this high note, right? He ended on this really high note on season 11, episode 16, 11B's mid-season finale, where we really saw him devolve into like this. I've described him as like a Two-Face like character, right? And I was just ready to see him like go all out, and we saw that in 11-17 as he's going after everyone. But then he was just like captured so quickly, put off in like a jail cell, and I felt like so much of that was just what they were building up to with Lance was just like immediately sucked out of him. And I don't know if that's because, partially because we only had 8 episodes left of the show, and they were like, well, we just got to keep rolling, we just got to keep going along. And if that's the case, I just felt like there was such a potential for Lance to truly be like the main antagonist of the back half of these 8 episodes. I was waiting for, and I think a lot of people have maybe been waiting for some sort of payoff with Lance and maybe a possible connection to the Civic Republic military. If you are just finding this video and haven't watched any of my previous ones, I've talked a little bit more about this potential connection to the CRM and a potential showdown of the CRM versus the Commonwealth that I've like laid out in this big longer article that I can link out to at the bottom of this video. But I feel bummed. Like I feel like that's not going to happen now. Instead, we learn that Lance and the Commonwealth have been working on this like secret train to connect the, I don't know, all these other communities together. And if you've read the comics, you know that that's straight out of the comics, but that's something that Eugene had worked on, not the Commonwealth. And I don't know. I feel like we're not going to see the CRM thing happen now, and that's such a bummer, because I just don't understand what the point of having the Walking Dead world beyond was then. What I mean, honestly, what's the point of having all these spin-offs if you're not going to, you know, have a larger combined universe? So did I feel like Lance's death was earned? I've seen one comment about this already, and maybe other people are feeling this way too. I really, maybe they should have had like Lance or just someone else kill off Pamela instead, and had kept Lance as the main antagonist, because I just thought that would have been stronger. I would have loved to see Lance have some connection with the CRM, and then I don't know, just like roll out with like Jadis or someone, and then it was like them versus the Commonwealth. But it seems like that's not what we're getting. I still don't really know what we're working up to. I'm trying to think if I had any other feelings on the rest of the episode. I always thought that one of the strangest, weakest parts of the comic, I mean, I thought that the whole Commonwealth arc was pretty weak in the comics, so I do at least appreciate a lot of the changes that the show is making from the comics, which, I mean, honestly, I found it very boring. And I've talked a bit about the comics and some of the problems, and why I think, like my theories on why I think that they were a bit slower before. In other items, maybe I'll link to those below. I guess that I like this change up where in the comics, without like getting in the weeds, because I didn't even think it was that interesting, but you had Michonne in Yumiko's role, right, where she is acting as the person who's defending like a Commonwealth soldier for beating this obscure character to death. It's not someone who we like really know or anything. It's just a random Commonwealth civilian. And here we at least like have a beloved character. You have Eugene, who is on trial for the murder of Sebastian. That you can at least like get behind. That's more interesting, right? But instead of saying that she's just going to help the Commonwealth, Yumiko actually takes a stand, and there's a big shift from the comics where Yumiko actually just says, no, I'm going to defend my friend. Like, this is insane. Like, I don't really believe in the Commonwealth. And then in the comics, the big difference is that Michonne has a conversation with Rick after she decides that she's going to defend the Commonwealth, and after the trial takes place, and Rick kind of pulls her aside and is like, "Are you okay with like what just happened?" I think he actually says like, "Did you believe the words that you were actually saying during this trial?" And Michonne is like, "Yeah, like I did." And this is, she says that the Commonwealth is a special place. It seems like she's drinking the Kool-Aid of the Commonwealth. And you notice that that kind of concerns Rick. And he's like, huh, yeah, like this place, like it's good, but like it clearly has some issues. And the big shift on the show is that Yumiko, and maybe they were planning to expand on this if they had more episodes or they had another season, but here Yumiko's just like, yeah, we don't have time for this. Like, I know that this is a shady place, and I'm just gonna go and help my friend because that's the right thing to do. So that's the big shift. If anyone was wondering, like, why should I be caring about this storyline? Where's the storyline coming from? It's clearly a big remix of something from the comics. Let me think. Was there anything else in this episode? I still would have loved to see how like Negan was captured. I would have loved to see how Connie was captured. I just feel like we're skipping over things that I would have really liked to see expanded on a little bit more. Um, and let's see, I started filming this video by filming like the end of it before I filmed the beginning of it. So I think it's probably just, I'm gonna like break it here because then I kind of just talk about the very end of the episode because I thought the episode was going to end a little bit differently. So, okay, probably gonna cut right here. So I thought this episode was going to end on Lance with a shot of the camera pulling away from him. It was very Lost-esque. If you've ever watched Lost and you've seen how that show was ended. So I was surprised. I'm rewatching the scene right now. Actually, maybe I should like mute it. I don't want like some thing to pop up. But I love how this next scene begins because you think that the episode is going to end there. That's the expectation. And then all of a sudden, you're just like on this night sky, and you're like, okay, well, what's happening now? And then you realize that we're going to see what's become of everyone else. And I wasn't expecting to see any of that until next week. But we only have a few episodes left, so I guess they got to keep it rolling. This just felt to me, this entire scene of where we're seeing these prisoners with the Commonwealth on a vehicle, it just feels so different than anything that we've seen on The Walking Dead. It, I don't know, felt kind of movie-esque to me. And then you see that the Commonwealth, they're so shady. They're like keeping all of the prisoners asleep by sticking them in the neck with something. And then we get this reveal. I'm just looking at the very end, and I like that little close up actually, a little close up of going inside the mask and seeing like, oh, which one of our survivors are we looking at? And it's Ezekiel. And so now it's nice to kind of like see where he's at from the beginning of the episode and getting this like closure. But I just really liked how that little scene was done by going inside the mask. I wasn't expecting that. So let me just see. We're watching the rest of it. He gets shot in the neck. Not shot in the neck, you know what I mean. He gets the little injection in the neck. And I think that's where the episode ends. One of the guards sitting down. Kind of it's very Shawshank style. Also kind of reminds me of Fast Five. I think it's Fast Five where there's like this prison break. So I'm actually like going into next week's episode because at this point while I'm recording right now, I haven't watched episode 21 yet. I'm kind of just hoping that there's going to be this jailbreak where like someone flips over the bus, and they're coming in and they're saving Dom, but they're saving Ezekiel and everyone else. I know that that's probably not what's going to happen because I watched the teaser for next Sunday's episode, but yeah, I liked where this episode ended. Has it been my favorite episode? of the bunch. Not necessarily, but I enjoyed watching. I enjoyed watching episode 20, and it, you know, like the other episodes, it made me invested in watching where the rest of it was going to go. So, um, yeah, overall thoughts. I think it was really sad to see Lance go. Yeah, and I mean, from yeah, yeah, it was just really sad to see Lance go.